Okay, should be all right.
We're on mute, right?
As soon as I figure it out, I'll do it.
Unless they can dumb and all that. Whatever.
Oh, here we go. Oh, wait.
I'm gonna go in here and. Nobody's talking yet.
Good evening. All right, good evening and welcome. Corporate members, life members, welcome to the 2021 annual meeting. It is now 6:05. We'll call the meeting to order. I'm happy to report we do have a quorum. Over 100 ballots were submitted, so we do have a quorum. And the tellers committee is, I believe, in the process or nearly complete with the counting of the ballots. We will announce the results following the presentations. At this time, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes from last year's meeting. There are copies on your table. Do I have a motion? Motion, second? Beautiful, thank you. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you very much. You'll see from the agenda, we're going to have a couple of presentations, and then following those presentations, there will be time at the completion of those presentations for some Q&A. So please save your questions for the end. We'll do our best to answer all of those. And then we'll have a dinner service and further ado.
More of your concerns. Doc, let's start with one from a parent ready to get her kids vaccinated.
Mark?
Yeah, Devin, so Latisse from Detroit is wondering, can my child get the vaccine if they currently have a cold? Well, Latisse, if the symptoms are mild, then yes, it's still fine to get them vaccinated.
Do we have a clicker, or will you guys be advancing them? Great. Thanks, Matt. Good
Mark.
afternoon, good evening to you all. My name's Mark Ruma. Can we just advance the slide? I've heard it said that death leaves a heartache no one can heal, and love leaves a memory no one can steal. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember those that passed this year. In memory of Gerald Kearns, Seglinda Kelly Pritchard, David Kolagi, Linda Krusky, Theodore Lugitzani, Joseph McCarthy, Timothy Pollard, John Schrank, William Winter. Next slide. This board is thankful to have the opportunity to honor and remember these very special loved ones. I know the many memories, friends, family at the club can be a great sense of comfort during a time of loss. Throughout our history, Birmingham Country Club and its members have supported the surrounding community in a wide variety of ways. In fact, philanthropic activity is part of who we are. The board of directors has identified 3 charities, next slide, that align with our mission, vision, and our values. Eagles for Children, the Birmingham Country Club Scholarship Trust, and the Evans Scholar Foundation. Eagles for Children supports charities for our disadvantaged youth. Members can voluntarily opt into the program and participate by contributing $2 for every member Eagle. And we all enjoy hearing the Eagle stories, especially the hole-in-one stories, because they come with a free drink. But more so, each time a member makes an Eagle, we positively impact our disadvantaged youth. This past shortened golf season, we had 51 Eagles. Member participation in the program is just above 50%, and we would hope to get to 100%. So if you have not opted in, or if you wish to increase your donation per Eagle, please send an email to jill@bhamcc.com and opt in for Eagles for Children. The second charity is the Birmingham Country Club Scholarship Trust, and that's an educational fund that was established by the membership to assist our valued employees with higher education and training costs. So this past year, we had 7 scholarships for $2,000 a scholarship, so a total of $14,000. And today, our scholarship fund has assets above $300,000. So, and then finally, the Evans Scholar Foundation, which is a charitable trust that provides full 4-year tuition and housing scholarships for deserving caddies. In 2021, more than 300 college scholarships were awarded. So I think it's important to note that our club's commitment to the Evans Scholars Foundation is central to creating, maintaining, and improving Birmingham Country Club's caddy program. Today, we have 7 BCC Evans Scholars actively attending school, and we look to add more in the future. So we can all be very proud of these 3 charities and the member donations that help to improve so many worthy recipients. So next up is Carol, and she will. President's report.
Great, and we're actually changing up the agenda because I think it says Tom Morrow speaking next, but I'm Carol Friesen and I'm the president, and Tom Morrow will speak next on our treasury report. So it is great to have a full room of people here. I think the other day, Taras and I were talking and we thought there'd be about 20 people. So thank you for all showing up. I think it's fantastic. It's better to talk to a group of people than just a Zoom. So that is, it's super to see everybody, and thank you. I just want to, you can flip to the next slide. Thank you. Just take us back a year ago. And as I said, it's great to have everyone here. A year ago, if you recall, at the start of this fiscal year, we were in heavy COVID time again, and we were not having events. And if you recall, we did a Zoom meeting for our annual meeting. We didn't have our holiday ball. We had a Santa drive-through as opposed to a Santa brunch. And so, you know, we started the year in a very, very different place than we're starting it right now. And I just want to remind everybody of where that was when we start talking about the financials and where we ultimately ended up. We had a fantastic year. And so even though we started tough with COVID, we then ran into, we came across, like everybody has in business or in your own personal lives, we've seen labor shortages. We're seeing increased costs of goods, whether that's food or other items. So we had a lot of headwinds. But at the end of the day, like I said, it has all turned out very, very nice for the club. There's some great things that we were able to do. We effectively, you know, managed the labor issues. I have to say, Taras and his team did an exceptional job on not only recruiting new staff in, but actually retaining the staff that we have. Now that's like a real State of the Union. That cracks me up. So, and the other thing, you know, while it wasn't wildly popular, we did cease having Tuesday services, be it food and beverage and a lot of things. And it wasn't popular, but it did have a material impact on helping us manage our expenses. And then I have to thank all of you. All of our members supported this club. There was tremendous tremendous usage, both on the course, in food, and all of the events that we had. And we'll talk more about it later, but we definitely had the benefit of what I call the COVID bucks. We definitely had some tax credits this year that were put to good use. So if you want to switch to the membership slide. So it says on here that it was a strong year. I have to say it was probably our strongest year in many, many, many years. We had 44 new members this year. Yeah, it was unbelievable. And it allowed us to do a number of things, right? We cleared our exit list. We're able to move 11 members from corporate. Some time. You'll see on there, we had an equal mix of corporate members and under 40. I think there's a lot of talk about, we feel like there's a lot of under 40s joining the club, and we did have a lot, but we also had a lot of corporate members. So all net, we were up 23 members for the year. The membership committee and the board is feeling a little bit bullish about where we sit, and we are raising transfer fees to $55,000. I think it's a huge statement of the investments that we've made in our club, and I think, you know, with the membership activity we've had, how we compare to other clubs, we are in a place that is fair and probably appropriate. We are pausing on new memberships for both the under 40 and the social categories, and we are going to be looking at reducing those membership levels through attrition. I will say that in 22, that is going to be a focus of the board and through membership and finance to take a very strong look at what that means for us and make sure that we don't have any unintended consequences. If you flip to the next slide. I like to talk about our most significant asset, right? Our golf course. There was a year ago at this meeting where the membership voted to move forward with the course renovation. And I think, and I hope everyone is going to be thrilled when they get out to play next year. I know there's pressure already to ask us if we're opening before May. I will tell you, it is too early to have that discussion. Yeah, boo away. We have to get through winter, and we have to get through winter, and we have to get through spring, and then we will make that decision, and it's not going to be my decision. So in any event, I'm really pleased to say that while we are still tallying up all the invoices and looking at everything, we fully expect on the course project to be very well within budget, and I'm talking within a couple of percents. Got it. And then we also did, based upon the Greens and Grounds recommending a couple other items and things to take care of, and the board approved, we did additional coursework, and we're replacing some of the equipment. And as we look at 22 going forward, we're definitely going to have a lot of focus on the details around the course, right? All the structural things are done. I think we should be in good shape, and we just need to make sure that everything we expect our course to be will be. And I just got a note to remind everyone on Zoom, if you could please mute yourself so we don't get feedback, that would be fantastic. Thank you. So as we flip to the next slide on the practice areas, there's nothing really new on this slide. It's all been communicated before, but we've completed the practice range. There's been lots of information about that. We fully expect that project to be well within the budget that we set out for it. We've, want to highlight, we've put out now 2 short game facilities. One I think of as a warm-up area, which is very much in line with what was in the 2018 enhancement plan. And then we're looking at putting the training facility out by number 13, which if any of you were at the town hall, we talked a lot, or at least started the meeting talking about what our membership's going to look like in the future. And we have a tremendously fast growing junior program. We have clinics and lessons that are very strong, and we want to make sure that we're going to be able to support all of that. Next slide. Take a pause. Yeah. Yeah, Wi-Fi's and microphones need to be upgraded. All right. Oh, I'm not there. All right. So continuing on, talk a little bit about golf operations. David Driscoll's been with us for a year. It's been a really quick year. We also had mid-year the opportunity to have Bill Clark join the team. Lots of work has been done around balancing the high usage, and the desire to play daily with our tournaments, our junior programming, our teaching programming. And it's taken a lot of work to balance all that. And I don't know if David's going to say we have the magic formula, but I know he keeps working on it. So definitely, everyone is hearing, and by everyone, I mean the board and the management teams here, that, playing on the course is paramount and everyone wants to get on, and we're doing our best to make sure that we can accommodate everybody and do it in a way that we can keep all of the elements being, teaching programs and tournaments and everything in appropriate balance. We believe the reciprocal program was very positive. I understand there were a few members that didn't find it so much that way, but we believe that there was somewhere in excess of 70% of the requests made were actually accommodated. And I think if you consider the number of courses that are actually going through renovations, and every one of those other clubs have a full membership and don't necessarily want to make room for reciprocal play, I think we should be really pleased with the staff and what they were able to do to accommodate our membership. And you may have seen, and hopefully you did see, a number of communications regarding handicap. The goal this year, or I should say now last year, was to, start educating and communicating. And there's going to be more education and communication going out next year as we continue to really try to refine the handicap system within our club. And the last thing I just want to say, I hope you've had the opportunity to be in the pro shop. They've done a great job of kind of rearranging, trying to get better inventory, newer inventory in, more contemporary inventory, and definitely are listening a lot to member requests and bringing in new brands. So I think it's been a real success this year. I know our numbers speak for it, and we've definitely seen our revenues increase in the pro shop. In terms of, what we're going to try to work on in 22, which is a slide, we're in the process of recruiting for a golf services manager. That is the new name for the old First Tee. So we're looking forward to that position being replaced. Continue to look at, tee time assignment processes, the golf calendar, things like that. We are going to have all new yardage and green books, scorecards, tee markers, and flag sticks for our brand new course, which I think is important to bring on board. We have not lost sight of a caddy program. This year was not really the year to try to rehab it, but it's definitely going to be a focus for next year. And again, we'll just continue to work on the pro shop and make sure that it's meeting the needs of all our members. And before we close on golf, I think people are really interested in the number of rounds that we have. Had we not closed August 1st, we would attract very close to 2020, which was probably our highest use year, obviously because of COVID. Total rounds for 2021 were almost 16,000. Of that, we're saying here 85% were member, which is about 13,000 rounds. I think what's important here is there is also questions every once in a while about who's using the course the most. And this is granted some just quick math, but if you look at it, whether you're corporate life or under 40, they are relatively in range. So it isn't like one group of members seems to be using the course more than others. There's a little more pie chart there, and when you view this online, you can see more detail. So if we go to facilities, As we reported earlier in the spring, and I got a ton of flack for how much we spent on it, but we are still pleased that we completed the Turf Care Center and we are moved on beyond that. We are in the process of starting the pavilion, which will include a fireplace, a very nice fireplace as part of that construct. Pickleball courts are in the planning process, and we do plan to have those available in 22. We've ordered new patio and pavilion furniture. We coordinated that between the patio and the pavilion, so it was consistent, and that is on order and will be delivered hopefully in May. I don't know, with timing on everything, we could see some delays on that, but we ordered as soon as we could so that we could have it timely. A couple staff changes. Everyone here loves Gordon. I can't believe he's really retiring. I don't know if Gordon's ever really going to retire, but he is planning on at the end of the year. And so as part of succession planning, we've had Joe Plasky be shadowing him, and he will be the logistics and facilities manager going forward. And Joe is very excited about that. He's spent time here in a number of different positions within our organization. And this is actually something he was wanting and asking for. So he's pretty excited about it. So this next chart here is obviously very hard to read from the room, but I suggest that when this deck is posted to the website, you go back and look at it. I think the point I want to make here is this is the history of the investments that we have made in this club in the past 6 years. They are significant, but I think you will also be pleased to see that it has been color coded to highlight those, how they are funded and whether they were approved by members or whether they're approved by the board. So like I said, I know it's hard to read here on the screen, but it's a question we get a lot about which project was approved by who and how was it funded. And this chart does a really nice job of summarizing. So tremendous amount of investment, and appreciate all the member support on it. So as we go to house and dining, again, 2 more staff, David and Jessica joined as the clubhouse manager and our catering manager. Really happy to have them on board. I think dining and food is in a really good place, and I think our chef does a fabulous job, and I hope you guys all agree. Good thing, since most of you are getting a free dinner after this, so enjoy it. We believe that service is improved. It's important to us. It's important that we continue to keep this service at the club at the highest level, and we're continue to make refinements in that area. Carryout is a byproduct of COVID that has been incredibly successful and continues to be successful even when members can still come to the club to dine. So I'm sure you, like me, use it quite frequently. And the other thing we found is that the patio tent has really extended our dining kind of a little bit more post-season and pre-season than we would have anticipated. So it's been a nice way to keep members having the opportunity to dine in a different venue. And I want to chat about pool swim rackets. So first of all, I guess we have to give it up for the Barracudas again. They were repeating the SICSA champions, and I understand they were also the 21 dual meet champions. So they were double winners this year. 200 kids participate on the swim team, which honestly, I don't know how they organize all that. So rackets too. Rackets is sometimes a little bit quiet. We don't hear a lot about it, right? Both the tennis and paddle had a significant increase in their league participation. There was record attendance for junior programs and the men's and ladies clinics. Pickleball clinics were introduced. It was kind of a trial balloon, right? But it had a significant amount of participation. And the tennis team also hosted the Interclub Tennis Finals this year, and I understand they performed quite well and our club showed quite well. You may have noticed if you've been at the pool that our furnishings need some repairs, but the good news is it is all under warranty, so that is going to be taken care of. And we've agreed to put a new tent where that very old beat up one was, and it has been selected and ordered and will be installed for next swim season. We are going to continue to think about cleanliness and service at the pool. The reservation system was very successful in the past, and then we'll be looking at maybe some hybrid system going forward. And then also looking at how we integrate pickleball clinics and leads into our complete rackets program. And then when we get to communications, it was really important that this year we made sure that we had regular and relevant communications. It was also important that we consolidated them because we were getting a lot of feedback that people were kind of tired of getting a whole lot of one-offs. So a lot of work was done about how the club could consolidate those communications. And they also added this year a little "did you know?" that was a sneaky way to kind of put some more information about rules or things that might be changing to try to get people's attention. We worked really hard to have a From the Boardroom at least every other month. We started the committee connection newsletter, which we put out quarterly, where all of the committees had the opportunity to consolidate the information, and it came out as one newsletter. We're doing more text alerts, and Michelle published the dress code lookbook this year, which hopefully was easier to use and digest than reading all the information. No offenders here. Yeah. So, and then I just have to say, you know, on the website, Christine was intimately involved in this, but I think having the course renovation as a page, a dedicated page on the site was fantastic. And I hope you guys really spent some time because that was real time. David, again, spent a lot of time taking drone videos, and we wanted to make sure that everyone could see what was happening as it was happening. So hopefully you took the opportunity for that. Our social media continues to expand, and we also this year had in the spring some in-person feedback sessions and also held a mid-year town hall. We'll continue to work on the cadence of communications. I know you can't have enough of it. It's just sometimes hard to get it out real time, you know, to make it relevant. But our goal is to communicate as often as possible. So before I turn it over to Tom to do his treasury report, I just want to comment a little bit about club governance and best practices. The information I'm going to share here was taken from Club Benchmarking, which is a widely recognized industry forum. And this was from their 2020 governance survey. So a couple comments here. First of all, I think we believe, and I hope you find that Birmingham is doing quite well compared to these best practices. So I'm going to go through and just read some of them. Formula for member satisfaction is a combination of state-of-the-art amenities and great quality and service. And our investment in the amenities is part of why we want to keep our club in the forefront. We need to communicate often in writing and in person. And this is interesting. We often talk about members leaving, but it is on average clubs experience a 5 to 7% attrition each year. And so I think the job of the board is to think forward and think about who will be our members in 10 years. And are we building and are we, you know, grooming our club for the future? It's really important also, I'm a big believer that we have succession planning for the board and for management. I commented on a few pieces of our staff and how we're working on that succession planning. We have integrated a little bit more of a robust nominating process with the nominating committee. They started earlier this year. They went through an interview process. We would like the nominating committee to start having a longer term view and start cultivating members that could be future board members and think about how do we, you know, focus on matching needs with skill sets. I think sometimes there's a little bit of a void there. We did an orientation for the new members last year. It was our first try. We did our best. I know we can improve upon it. And so we're planning on doing another one for our new board members with our goal to get them up to speed and effective as, as quickly as possible. And then one thing that I think is really important, we want to make sure that we focus on strategy and planning and not just focus on the operations, right? The operations are for the management staff. And this would suggest that 80% of the board's time should be spent on strategic issues. And I think when Tom goes through his report, you'll see that has been where our focus is. And on the last slide here, I think, everyone knows, but I just want to reinforce, we're not the only one that thinks this way. Dues are the club's highest form of income. And so we rely very heavily on our dues. This one I love, and it is usually always new board members that are most interested in it, but food and beverage should be considered an amenity and it should not be a profit center. This is not just how I feel, this is how best practices are. And then, there's some other targets here, minimum target for available capital. Birmingham is operating very well in that place. And then, there's a couple other metrics in terms of debt. And Tom's going to talk a little bit more of debt, but we are well within the suggested metrics for best practices. And I think the only place where we could definitely put some more energy in, although we did start it this year, is working harder to anticipate our capital needs. It's something we want to spend some more time on and make sure that we build out a good, robust plan for the next 5 to 10 years. So with that, that's sort of my report and overview on the club for the year. Again, I thank all of you for your participation and support. And I'd like to turn it over to Tom to give you the detailed financial update.
Thank you, Carol. I want to go to the next slide. Yeah. I want to just start out by saying, hey, we had a pretty good year financially here at the club. We ended the year with $1.9 million of cash on our balance sheet. We got there through using the COVID tax credits. We had a really strong year with new members coming on board. And we also got the bank to release some escrow money that they were holding. So we're in a very strong position financially. During the year, we did pay down our debt by $740,000. So at this point, we have 4.6 remaining on the balance sheet. We started out, the two loans were $7.8 million. We believe we're going to meet our coverage ratio for the year. And remember, these loans are repaid from the maintenance and facility fees that we pay each month. On an operating basis, we came in with a loss of $74,000. This is significantly better than the budget for the year, where we were expecting to lose $585,000 due to the golf course closure. So we got there through really managing the operations well, but also taking advantage of employer tax credits that were part of the COVID relief program. We were able to realize $932,000 this year. Of that, $322,000 is recognized as income, and $608,000 is in a deferred category. On the capital side, we generated $5.8 million in capital funding this year. This came from transfer fees of $1.5 million, which is the strongest I've ever seen. We also drew down the last availability on our loan. We had an assessment of $1.5 million. And again, that money that was released from escrow by the bank. We used that money to make a significant investment in the club. We invested around $5.3 million. We finished off the Turf Care Center. We completed the golf course renovation, as Carol said, within 2% of budget. The driving range is complete, and that came in under budget. And we had other additional CapEx that came in around $609,000. I want to take a minute and just talk about how this club functions, because it's a little different than businesses you may be involved in. On one hand, we have the operations, and that functions kind of like an income statement. We have revenue that comes in from dues, food and beverage, golf, and then we deduct from that the direct costs, the cost of the food, the direct labor that goes into those operations, and we get a gross profit. From that gross profit, we deduct our indirect expenses, things like taking care of the golf course, maintaining the clubhouse, administration costs, and fixed charges. And we get to a net operating result, and that's the $74,000 loss that I referenced earlier. On the capital side of the club, we start with our prior cash reserve, and we add to that the transfer fees that we generate during the year, the assessments we generate during the year, the facility and maintenance fees, and any escrow releases that may have been generated. And then we have to adjust for that net operating result. If we had a net operating profit, that would be added to our capital. In our case, we had a $74,000 loss, so that will be deducted from our capital. We then deduct our leases and debt service, and that gives us our net available capital. That's the money we have to invest in the club. So let me talk a little bit about the operations for the coming year. We're forecasting a break-even operating budget's very conservative. It takes into account the club golf reopening Memorial Day, but it also, we've learned how much the members have supported the club even when we can't come here and play golf. So we believe it's a very conservative budget. It includes a modest dues increase that is going to help us with the increased costs. Like every business is facing shortages of supplies and labor and inflationary forces driving those prices up. We do look at the peer clubs and believe we continue to be competitive with the other clubs in our area. The big challenge for next year is going to be managing those expenses. How much is meat going to go up? How much is labor going to go up? We hope that we've, in being conservative, have that covered, but that's the big challenge for the operating budget next year. On the capital side, we do anticipate having a reasonable level of new member activity to generate transfer fees to fund capital expenditures. We have, so far this year, we have 5 new corporate members just in a month and a half that have joined the club. We expect we're going to have a few more that are going to get in before the transfer fee goes up. We also believe that once the golf course opens up, that this club is going to be very popular with new members coming in as well. So we're reasonably optimistic about new member activity. As we said, the maintenance and facility fees cover the debt service each year. There's also an additional about $130,000 that goes into this escrow account. It builds up, and we believe that we can, talk the bank into releasing it periodically. The CapEx mentality around here is really making a dramatic change. We are moving from what for the last 10 years was really a repair and minimize the out-of-pocket costs and keep the place running to a replace. If equipment is past its useful life, we're starting to replace things, and that will pay big dividends going forward, where in the past a lot of our capital spending was spent on just holding things together rather than getting new equipment in the door. We plan on continuing the completion of the 2018 Club Enhancement Plan, and we also have some other strategic investments in new amenities and facilities. We have things coming this year like the pavilion and fireplace. We have the short game training facility, which is already well along. If you've seen the work that's been going on off of number 13 and off of the 10th tee. Hopefully those will be ready in the spring. And we also plan on having pickleball courts put in hopefully this summer. So we've got a lot of investment that's going into the club. So, in summary, the club is really in a very strong financial position. We put through a dues increase to cover the rising costs of food and labor. We do look at this and believe we are comparable and competitive with other peer clubs. We continue to have very healthy usage from our existing members, which makes a very vibrant place. We also believe that the new member interest remains very high, and we need those new members to come in. As Carol pointed out, we expect to have 5 to 7% turnover each year, and those new transfer fees are very important to continuing to invest in the club. So we want to continue that investment. We've got the 2018 programs to finish off. We have the pickleball and other programs. We do have the funding in the bank to complete all of the near-term projects. Management's going to be paying close attention to staffing, performance, and objectives. And as Carol pointed out, we're going to continue to watch the governance, make sure that we line up with the best practices as we see them out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So I think before we get to the outcome of the vote, we'll take questions. And it would be so unusual if we have 0 questions. Okay, now I got to hold on a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. The pickleball courts will be located next to the paddleball courts near the short game training facility. That's a very generic description, but I think if you walk out there, they're all staked out and you can see it more clearly. The mics don't work, so don't worry.
Our initiation fees have gone way down.
Mhm.
And our corresponding equity has gone down. And as a consequence, most of those members that are around.
Mhm.
And so those that were eligible for like membership were asked to forfeit that equity and getting into like some shows.
Right.
Well, now after seeing Tom's slide, where transfer fees are really 4.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah, it was an unusual year.
We don't really have that issue. And so, and then I'm asking, because I don't think I'll ever hit the level. So it's not a self-serving question. Why would we continue those people that have been here for a very long time, supporting our club, times bad, to forfeit that equity that they were told would, some of that was when
The future promise, right?
some of that was when they got assessed and we told them to do that. It just seems a fair thing to me. I'm just asking you guys, or if you have to restore it, reinstating, letting them.
Yeah, well, it's a fair enough question. Yep. And very much appreciated if you don't think you're on the list. So how about this? Because one of the things I had mentioned we're going to be doing is doing a good solid study around membership levels and everything else. And I think we will add that just to the list so that it's well looked at and we can consider it. Yep. Go ahead. Okay. So we will make sure in 2 years we work on that. We'll try not to keep everyone's personal considerations in order, so.
I'm happy to give it up. In one annual meeting, I pretty much got food out of the building when I suggested that everybody give up their equity. I still believe we should do that, but that's just me. I'm happy to give mine up.
Thank you. So I think we had a question in the back of the room.
Excess revenue over expenses of $2 million loss.
Sorry,
Oh, the revenue over expenses at a negative 2 million. Can we afford things that don't generate revenue like pickleball courts and other items?
so I just bring you back to the comment that not everything we do at the club generates revenue, right? Food and beverage doesn't, it generates revenue, but it generates it more at a loss than a positive. Tennis courts don't, the pool, not really. And as a country club, we have a number of things that we want to support. So, you know, a lot of people have said that about paddle too, like it doesn't generate any revenue, so why should we do it? But if you come back to members join clubs and best clubs have state-of-the-art amenities. And so therefore we look at what other clubs are doing and what is the growing trend, and pickleball is a huge growing trend. So we think about it as an amenity for the club.
The biggest
Yeah.
loss we have every year is on the golf course.
Yeah.
I think the golf course revenue affects the cost to maintain the court and lose something like $1 million two every year. So I don't think anyone proposing we should cut down the golf course. So the reason you have pickle, the reason you have paddle, dining, all these things is so people
Join and pay their dues. And we actually only lost 74,000 this year with a shortened golf season. So that's actually a pretty good performance. I'm not really sure where the $2 million loss comes from,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's more of an
Okay.
accounting.
Hold on,
I'm not
let me
sure
go over
that's-
here. Wendy? Okay, we'll repeat them. Got it. Janet?
So my question probably is opposite of what Mr. Fontanesi asked, is I'm really excited about pickle and I'm really excited about this pavilion. I think this is a great addition to the club and it will bring people in. Do we have a timeline when these are going to be done?
We have a rough timeline. Pickle in particular, where there's a number of things we have to work through, including permits from the city. And we have, you know, we, like everybody, are not necessarily treated fairly by the city, and it will take quite some time. So our timeline is loose, and we need to get through that. The pavilion is starting construction this month. I mean, it was supposed to start the middle of this month, and it will be completed by the spring. Yep. Oh, go ahead, and then we'll get the one in the back. You're gonna be busy, David, moving that around.
Carol, in 2016 or 2017, we budgeted and was approved to expand and update the fitness center. To
Mhm.
date, it's not happened, and I don't see it anywhere on the list. Now, I may be one of the few that use it almost daily, but are we going to do it or are we not going to do it? And if we are, when is that going to happen?
Yeah, so it's on the plan. We did not put the future projects other than those that were already being worked on, but that is definitely on the list. It's been talked about. It's there. It gets a little I don't want to say it gets complicated, right? We just have such limited space for a fitness center. And so when we think about doing something, it then is like, well, how far do we want to go? Like, really, to do it right, we probably have to make some major construction. So I think that's why we need a plan that extends out a little bit further so we can think about how we're going to do the rest of these projects right. But it's
What-
on the list.
When we when we approved it, they put a door in from the ladies' locker room, but it's not extended. We can go 10 feet, towards the locker room. And part of that expense was already incurred, but then we've stopped and we've done nothing. I mean, at least we can expand it to that wall and put in several new machines.
Yep.
But those of us that use it are waiting for that to happen, and it just never seems to.
Yep,
proceed.
understood. Understood. In the back.
Yes, with respect to pickleball, did the board consider the noise that pickleball activities generate? We're building a beautiful short game facility back in that corner. And yet we're relinquishing 25% of our space for a pickleball, dedicated pickleball court, which will be a noisy with 16 people banging that ball around. It makes a lot of noise. Was that ever considered by the board? And also, what effect that would have on people trying to work on their short game with that ruckus going on?
Yeah, well, I actually don't want to share the debates that this board had, and I say that in the nicest way because it was I don't want to say it was highly contested, but there was a lot of debate and discussion around pickleball, and all those things were
The
considered,
other
yes.
point was, before we jump into this dedicated court, we have 2 hard courts of tennis courts that we could very easily paint lines on and convert to pickleball courts just to see how that works out. And if it, just see how it goes. I think we're jumping ahead of the illogically on the pickleball.
Yeah, there has been talk around taping off the courts and doing those things. And it was considered, but as I mentioned earlier, our tennis courts are getting considerable usage. And so that would then take away the tennis aspect of the game, so.
Thanks. Hey, if you like country music, you love hitting golf balls at our range, giddy up. So I'm just kidding. Our table wants to know
Ooh, a table question.
that notwithstanding his significant contributions to this club over time and his OCD tendencies, is there a term limit for Matt Paroli?
There is. There is a term limit for Matt Paroli. It's actually in the bylaws. So
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
table question answered. Are we all set? Thank you, guys. I really appreciate everyone being here, and enjoy your dinner.
Thank you for that question, JB. Thank you. Yeah. I hope there's a term limit on that scarf. Go. All right. Well, I'm glad everyone is sitting down because I have the election results. It's my pleasure to report that our new 3 board members, Wendy Zabriskie, Dan O'Hara, and Rob Hawkins, have all been elected. So congratulations to those 3. And congratulations to the existing board and all of those who serve on committees and the board. I know sometimes people don't always agree with a specific decision or some action that is taken, but really a lot of people, not just the board, but all the people on the committees who volunteer their time and give a lot of service to the club should be appreciated. So thank you to everyone who's done that throughout the year. So I guess with that, we'll call for dinner. How about that? Another nonprofit activity, Joe.